Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Sangmesh, and I'm CEO of Marmin Technologies, and we provide e-invoicing solution across Southeast Asia and Middle East and India. Today in this webinar, thanks for joining us on this subject where we want to introduce how you can, as a customer, achieve effective and efficient IRBM e-invoicing integration for e-invoicing. We have been in market. We have seen so many implementations, and we have seen so many difficulties which businesses face in terms of how to achieve this implementation. Um, Usually, it's the start of the journey, which is like you are introducing compliance in your organization in a digital manner, and this journey is gonna be very long, the journey of e-invoicing. But for achieving this, the implementation doesn't have to be highly complex, highly time consuming, highly ineffective in the short run. And then you scramble around at a later stage to understand how to mitigate the risk associated with the invoicing implementations. This is where me, Sangamesh, and my colleague Shashank, who is leading product, are here today to introduce how to achieve implementation along with a quick uh, view into our product, where we will showcase how our product will help you in achieving e-invoicing compliance in quickest possible way, depending on what scenario you want to adopt. Let's move forward from here. So far, there has been many countries which have implemented e-invoicing. The whole e-invoicing era started with EDI, electronic data interchange, where system to system talking used to happen. This has over time translated into much more efficient internet-based communication, on which now many countries are relying on for achieving organization-based compliance, tax compliances, integration compliances, related aspects. Based on the timeline set by IRBM in Malaysia, we are all aware that phase one was 1st of August 2024, which is passed for businesses which had revenue more than 100 million ringgit. Phase two started this January for 25 million plus ringgit businesses. And phase three is starting this July, and it is applicable to all businesses. There has been some relaxation or some interim relief period to achieve this e-invoicing implementation, because government and authorities also know that running a business along with implementing e-invoicing might be quite challenging, because on one side you will have to run your business, plus again you'll have to put in your efforts in implementing e-invoicing for the regulatory requirements, which might introduce change in your business processes, change in the way your accountant or your accounting team works in terms of issuing account receivable e-invoices and then reconciling them. So broadly, based on our experience, what we have observed is there are three main dimensions for an e-invoicing project. One is these three dimensions actually, once you dig deeper and you have a very good clarity on these three aspects, your e-invoicing project is going to be successful for sure. The first one of this is data integrity. So far, maybe businesses might be relying on certain ERPs, and this ERP being an internal system, the way it might have been configured is suitable for the internal business processes. But when it comes to integration with a third party, here I'm considering third party as IRBM because it is external to your business. If there is no data integrity, there will be challenges in integration. Okay, that's why this point is highlighted here. Second is you want to comply, but what is your goal of timely submission? Okay. How you want to achieve timeliness in achieving your e-invoicing project success. So submission of e-invoices, cancellation of them, issuing refunds, all this steps has to align with e-invoicing project. Plus, it has to also embed into your invoicing process or your revenue collection process, right? And third of this is representation. Imagine that you have successfully implemented, integration is done in a timely manner, your invoices are going in real time to IRBM. But what is the point if your end customer, who is likely to receive the invoice, is not getting a readable format? The readability, that authenticity of the invoice also has to be in place for the end users to verify that this is a valid invoice. With these three dimensions, let's get into a further deeper subject around this implementation by IRBM. Right. We gave a short overview of what might be the challenges around, what are the challenges industries facing in various countries. What about small businesses? What about big businesses? How they're achieving these integrations, these implementations. So from that, we have highlighted some of them here, which are majorly faced by one company or the other. First is the cost aspect, right? The implementation of e-invoicing is a government mandate, agreed. But there are cost implications associated with this. The cost of modifying your source to make it compatible with the integration. What if there is no data which is ready and capable of successful integration that needs cleansing and some patching, some adjustments, some standardization, right? Third is, okay, what if it is in place, but process has to be amended because the team involved in the account receivable process, they're not sure how e-invoicing regulation versus the tax regulation works in sync with each other, right? Even if you build all of this, there is a security aspect, the privacy aspect. How does an organization, while it is sharing information outside the organization, ensure that there is security and privacy for the data being shared? So these all reflect into the cost aspect of the invoicing implementation. Then it might also be necessary that, okay, you have all data standardized. Sorry, you have all data standardized, but what if IRBM is expecting a different standardization? There are various standardization mechanisms of data. Some countries follow ISO, some countries follow EDIFACT, those things. But if it is mismatching, then how does the successful integration happen? That has to be understood well. Then internal process, internal controls also play a big part in successful implementation of an e-invoicing project. Finally, imagine all of this you have successfully achieved, but the process doesn't stop there. Once e-invoice is issued, that e-invoice will also be used in future for audit purposes, for reconciliation purposes, for payment collection, etc. aspects. So how do you manage these invoices? That also has to be sorry, that also has to be well thought through and addressed through a successful e-invoicing project. With this, we move forward. Yeah. So in giving such a preview of e-invoicing project, e-invoicing implementation, we want to introduce Marmin. So Marmin is an e-invoicing solution provider in India, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. We are an approved solution provider by PEPOL. We are approved solution provider by Saudi Tax Authority. We are approved solution provider by MDEC, also in Malaysia. In this pictorial view of our platform, we want to highlight how the whole e-invoicing implementation will look like currently and in future, right? So if you see this flow diagram, on the left side, you see the source. Source can be anything. It can be your end user point of sale. It can be your ERP. It can be your web application or your e-commerce website. When that is integrated on our platform, right? So there are various mechanism protocols which, based on your system's technical capability, can be used and transformed into the necessary authority format plus interoperability format. When I say interoperability, this term actually defines that you and your supplier, or you as a buyer, your supplier, or you as a supplier, and then your buyer, have that single common document which can be read easily by each of the systems. So that is the interoperability which is available on a platform also, which we make it available. Then it's not only about generating e-invoices, it's the support system around it. For example, monitoring it. What about the definition of the product itself? What about the billing and invoicing around the e-invoicing which you raise, e-invoice which you raise? So this is the complete package which Marmin as a solution offers for businesses around the markets we are playing around, right? We can go further from here, Shashank. Right. So the ease of e-invoicing generation is depending on what kind of mechanism you implement, right? You have, for example, my invoice portal is offered by IRBM as a stand. My tax portal is offered by IRBM as a standard offering. Any business can go there and create electronic invoices for the period they are trying to raise it, right? But it needs certain amount of knowledge, certain amount of access to the team to be given, certain amount of understanding to be given for achieving that successful documentation of e-invoice, right? Then it also comes around what can be the other mechanism, because punching one invoice every minute is not efficient. What if we have to do 10,000 invoices in 1 hour or 1,000 invoices per minute? So there is also necessity of achieving scale, right? And then further, there might be also a backend system which you have been using for maybe a decade or 5 years or 2 years, which you have implemented for internal business process. How do you tally with that? How do you match with it? How do you manage your reconciliation aspects? So with this overview, now I would like to hand over this session to Shashank. Meanwhile, if you team, whoever is attending the session, have any questions, you can push that over the chat window, and we will be answering that in parallel. Over to you, Shashank.
Thank you so much, Sangmesh. Um, so continuing from here, I think our focus in building this platform has been, uh, the primary focus has been how do we essentially make this platform not only affordable for people who are going to use this platform, but also how do we make this very efficient? How do we make this very seamless in terms of generating not only e-invoices, but also staying compliant with uh, IRBM? So we spoke about three channels, right? So just double clicking on these. Now, our main goal again here is regardless of what your business scenario is, what your internal business processes are, we provide a channel for every use case that is out there. So if you have fewer invoices, you want to track these invoices manually, you can use web app, and preferably for industries like consulting services where there are few invoices every month. Uh, the second channel, and this is one of the channels which is mostly being adopted in Malaysia as we speak, if you have to get compliant really quickly, and if you have systems which are essentially issuing invoices, but these are completely or partially offline, then bulk upload is the suggested approach, because you can essentially take that export from your system. As long as this export has all the necessary data for generating a compliant invoice, you can just drop it onto Marmin. It can have thousands of documents, and we will take care of generating e-invoices for each of these and pushing it to IRBA. We have seen that mostly in retail use cases where you have a pharmacy, you have a grocery store where you're generating these invoices. Bulk upload makes a lot more sense because You don't need to change anything on your ERP or your solution side. Whatever file comes out of your system or in whatever format you create your file, you can just drop it onto Marmin and we will generate the invoices. The final approach is the most preferred approach in a strategic sense. In the long term, this gives us the most ROI because you are doing an API integration with which you get end-to-end automation of e-invoicing, and everything from generating an e-invoice, sending it to IRBM, and getting a response back will be automated. And this is mostly preferable for e-commerce businesses because the throughput is quite a bit, and all these invoices will be pushed to IRBM without any manual intervention. So I think this by now you folks would have understood that we support e-invoices. So that is your invoice, credit note, debit note refunds. We can also support consolidated documents for B2C transactions. So that is your invoice, credit note, debit note refund. We also have self-billed invoice, which means if you are issuing an invoice on behalf of your vendor, then you can do that from Marmin. All these three are supported from Marmin. Now, just one last bit before we jump into the demo, and this has been the core of whatever we are building at Marmin. We are trying to drive efficiency, and most importantly, we want to lower the cost of ownership for you as a person who is using e-invoicing and who have this responsibility of implementing e-invoicing in your business. So we provide multiple channels, and depending upon your use case, you can choose to either completely automate it via API or use bulk upload. Either ways, there is very minimal or no transformation required on your ERP or solution side. This will essentially ensure automation end to end. One of the other most important things is in our experience where we are operating in Saudi, India, we see that the regulatory authorities constantly update uh, e-invoicing expectations, and we have a dedicated team which is constantly ensuring that the platform is accommodating any changes that the regulatory authority is bringing in. Right. So from a compliance point of view, you don't have any cost of staying compliant because Marmin is taking care of that. We already mentioned that we are MDEC and PEPAL certified, but we are also SOC 2 and GDPR certified, which means from a data security and privacy point of view, we take care of anything and everything that is required. Um, we also store your invoices, which means you save on storing your invoices. That storage cost essentially comes down. And in a short while, you will see that our platform is quite intuitive. And for someone who is going to use this, this could be a data entry person or someone from your accounting team or finance team who will be using Marmin as a platform. It's very easy because there is very minimal training required, and it's very easy to start using the platform and be up and running from an e-invoicing perspective. So our focus has been to sort of reduce cost overall across these various dimensions. Now, coming to operational efficiency, we try to reduce whatever overhead that might come in because of e-invoicing. Firstly, as and when documents are getting generated, you will receive an email, um, which means you don't have to come back to Marmin to check. So if you have uploaded 100 documents, as and when they get approved by IRBM, you receive the invoice straight into your email inbox, right? We also have automated reports, analytics, which essentially help you stay on top of compliance and stay on top of your accounts receivable numbers, accounts payable numbers, so that in terms of managing or in terms of completely leveraging e-invoicing to improve operational efficiency, you can do that. So having said this, let's get into a very short demo. Now, again, my colleagues will be posting some of the details on the chat. You can have a look at those brochures. We are more than happy to sort of do a deep dive of the platform at a later point in time if you have questions. But at least this demo will give you a flavor of what we offer in Marmit and how we can essentially help you stay compliant with IRBM invoice. So this is how we will essentially break down the demo. We will showcase e-invoice generation from web app very quickly. We will show bulk upload of documents We will also show you SFTP upload of documents. If you want to programmatically, drop files in a secure file folder, we will essentially pick it up from there and generate e-invoices. And lastly, we will also show you consolidation of invoices, how you can essentially leverage this option that IRBM has given to consolidate invoices at the end of every month, and how Marmin essentially supports you in doing that. Right. So let's start with the first
Uh,
one, which is,
just
yeah,
one
yes,
interruption here, Shashank. You had to share the handouts.
yeah. Just do that. 1 minute. I'm sharing both of them, Sangmesh.
No, still it's not shared, so handouts are hidden. The
No, no, I'm
thing,
sharing both of them. Just give me a minute.
okay, yeah, do that, please. Thank you. Yeah, one has come. Yeah, both of them are here. You can continue.
So let's start with the first part, which is, okay. Right. So let me just give a quick intro on this, and we'll go through this demo. Um, Sangmesh, can you confirm that you're able to see the screen, the
Yes,
demo
it
file?
is visible.
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
All right. So there is some basic setup required on the platform whenever you want to start using Marmin. It's pretty straightforward. We will help you with that. It's a one-time setup, so we won't delve into that. One aspect that I wanted to highlight was we have a validation engine, and this is one of the core offerings. So be it creating business profile or when you're creating invoices, it essentially kicks in to ensure that you have all the valid data required. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is a simple invoice creation from the web app. Again, you can see that the UI is very simple, very straightforward. You can enter all the details. So put in the document number, payment mode, select the vendor and the buyer. And once that is done, you can essentially go in and start adding the details. Now, all of these are preset. So which means you set up your vendor on the platform, you set up your customers, and you just select them from the drop down when you're creating the invoice. Right? So here we are trying to add a new item. And again, everything and anything that is supported by IRBM is supported by Marmin. So you can come in here, you can put in your discounts in absolute value percentage. You can even mention the reason for the discount. You can add the sales tax, and it will also give you the line item total, and you can save that. At an invoice level, you can add charge, you can add prepayment, you can add shipping details, you can add import export data if you have that at an invoice level, right? So, and all of these will be sent to IRBM, and it will also be available on the PDF whenever the PDF is downloaded for the invoice. Right? Now, again, adding more items is very straightforward. You can either add an item directly here at save item, or you can essentially click on save and add new item, and it will essentially add the previous line item and bring in the new line item for you. And you can just enter the details and save. Right, so we've added all the details. So let's go ahead and save this invoice. So this can be sent out to IRBM. Right? The beauty about the web app is, as in when you're creating the documents, you can also track the status of these documents in real time. Right now, currently this document is in submitted status. So we have submitted it to IRBM, and we are essentially waiting for IRBM to come back with a response on either an approval or rejection. Right. And whenever a document is submitted, you also have a unique UUID for the document, which is given to us by IRBM. Right. So now, if you see, this document has gone through. It is valid. It has a document UUID, and it is also represented by the green color tag. You can download the PDF once it's generated, and the PDF has everything that is required for a compliant invoice. It also has the IRBM QR. Which is required by IRBM. Right? Now, once a document is created, for any reason, if you want to cancel the documents, it's very straightforward. You just go to the actions, click on cancel. You mention the reason for cancellation, and you can go ahead and cancel this document, right? So now this document has been canceled, and this is an IRBM status, which means even on the IRBM side, it has been canceled. Now, what we will do is we will try and issue a refund for the document that we have just canceled. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Again, this is very straightforward. You come to the refund section on the left, select the document against which you want to issue the refund, and go ahead and create the document. Now, logically, this should get rejected by IRBM because you are issuing a refund for a cancelled document. Right. So let's just wait for IRBM to come back on this. It might take a couple of seconds. Um, yeah, so there you have it. Right. So if you see um, the document has been cancelled, sorry, the document has been rejected by IRBM. And it clearly states that the reference document or the invoice for which you are issuing the refund has already been cancelled. So this is not valid. Right. So this is an invoice creation from web app, a very similar process for credit note, debit note, refund, or even self-billed documents as well. Now let's move to the next bit of it that we want to show you. And um, again, we want to essentially talk about bulk upload, how easy it is for you to essentially just take a file from your ERP, drop it onto Marmin, and Marmin will essentially import this file, generate the invoices, and send it out to IRBM. Right now, one thing I would want to very specifically highlight here is regardless of what file format you have, you can essentially get that file format and drop it onto Marmin. Okay, so you don't need to do any sort of mapping. The mapping will be done on Marmin side. So which also will enable you to go to market or get compliant very quickly. You don't have to wait for doing any of the things, right? So you just can get onboarded, start dropping your files, and we will start generating these invoices for you, right? So let's go through this demo. So what we're doing here is we are essentially taking a file, dropping it onto bulk upload. So you see a new job is created for bulk upload, and it clearly states the name, what are the total number of documents, what is the current status, right? In the backend, there is a job which is essentially running, which picks up all the files that you've uploaded and starts processing it, right? So whenever this gets processed, now you can see that it's processed. You see the total is 4 and completed was 4, right? So this was the first invoice. It has been created. It is valid. It has been sent to IRBM, and we have got a UUID for this, right? Second is refund. It's created, but we are yet to receive a response back. But if you see credit note, we have created the credit note, but for whatever reason, IRBM has rejected this document, right? So we'll just wait for refund also to sort of go through. But the main point to highlight here is it's very, very seamless, right? So you don't have to worry about anything. You just drop the file, we take care of everything else from there. So if you have turned on auto emailing, you just drop a file with, let's say, 10 documents, right? And those 10 documents come into Marmin, get created, are sent to IRBM. And whenever they get approved, you will get an invoice in your inbox. If it gets rejected, you get an email stating the reason for rejection in your inbox, right? So that way, it's very seamless. Now we will show the same thing with SFTP, right? So the concept is the same. We will still be dropping the file. SFTP doesn't require it to be in a certain format. We are just showing you the files that we have. So basically, we have 2 documents here, right? Each with 3 line items. So the concept is the same. You take the file, drop it in SFTP. Now, the beauty about SFTP is you can manually drop the file here, or you can essentially you can programmatically get your ERP to drop a file into this folder and also read back from this folder, right? So if you want to do some sort of automation with bulk upload using SFTP, that is possible as well. But having said that, uh, the flow is the same. So we have uploaded a file from SFTP. So when we come to web app, you can see that the job has been created with the source as SFTP. And yeah, again, the same flow where in the backend, the job is running. It's trying to look at if there is a new file that has been uploaded. And whenever it picks it up, it will essentially process the file. And yeah, so you see the first stage is done. It says there are total of 2 files, but none of them have been processed, right? So let's just give it a minute or two. Right. So currently the status is still uploaded. Just refresh. Hopefully it should have gone through. Yeah. So if you see, there are a total of 2 files. One file has been successfully processed, right? So in a couple of seconds, both the files should be done. And when the file is uploaded either through SFTP or bulk upload, the flow is the same. So both the files have now been successfully processed. So what this process means is Marmin has been able to successfully create an invoice from the file that has been uploaded. Now that file will be sent to Zatka, and depending upon whether Zatka approves it, rejects it, it will essentially, you will get an email notification accordingly. Now, if you see in this case, there were 2 invoices that we had uploaded, and both these invoices are here. The blue tag essentially means that the status is submitted. So these two have been generated and submitted to IRBM. Let's wait for it to go through and see if IRBM actually approves it or rejects it. So in our case, you don't need to follow up in any way. So both the invoices have been successfully sent to IRBM. So you see that the status is valid, right? And it also has a UUID. Now, in our case, IRBM is sort of an async, um, invoice push, but you don't have to follow up, right? So Marmin is constantly speaking to IRBM, asking IRBM for what is the status on a particular invoice, refund, credit note that has been submitted, and the responsibilities on Marmin to get a response back, right? So having said that, let's move on to the last bit of the demo. And this is an interesting thing. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is about leveraging um, what IRBM is giving us. So if you are a business who has B2C invoices and your end user doesn't require an e-invoice, then you can consolidate these invoices, right? Now, we provide a very easy way of essentially consolidating invoices where you can push all the invoices that have to be consolidated to a staging area on Marmin. So what that means is we hold on to these invoices until the end of month, and post which we start consolidating these invoices, right? But in the interim, let's say your user comes back and says that, hey, I want an invoice for something that I had happened. You can very easily come to Marmin. You can say, okay, there is this invoice in staging. I want an e-invoice generated for this. You can generate an e-invoice. And at the end of the month, whenever we are consolidating, we'll ignore or we will essentially eliminate or not count that invoice. Right? So let's look at consolidation.
Yeah, Shashank, there is one question from Reginald. The question is, can you show us what the rejection from LHDN will look like in the inbox? So if you want to answer this now, do it, or else we can take it at the end so that the flow is not broken.
Yeah, so we'll go through the demo. I'll try and showcase this at the end. Okay. So let's go through the consolidation, right? So here, again, the easiest way to push invoices to consolidation or staging is, dropping a file in bulk upload. The only bit that you will need to do is append or attach a consolidate tag for the file. So what we have done here is for the sample data, we have attached the consolidate tag and we have dropped it in bulk upload. And now it goes through the same flow. right? So there is a job which is essentially looking at any new file that is coming into the system, and it will essentially start processing. So in this case, the consolidate file has been uploaded. It hasn't been picked up for bulk upload. So let's give it some time. So yeah. So here, if you see, this file has been processed. It has 6 documents in total. 2 were successful, 4 have failed, right? So 2 were successfully created, and 4 we couldn't create it because either there was missing data or any of those issues. So let's continue with this. So if you see, this is the staging area. I'll just pause here, right? Now, the difference between consolidation and normal invoice, whenever a normal invoice gets dropped into Marmin, it gets E-invoice gets created, it gets pushed to IRBM. Consolidation, you see, it is staged for consolidation. So which means it is sitting on Marmin, it hasn't been pushed to IRBM. So you have an option to come back, request for an E-invoice from some of these staged invoices. So we essentially created 2 documents successfully. So let's look at that, right? So there were no credit debit note refunds, but there were 2 staged invoices. Okay. Now, these invoices will essentially get picked up for consolidation. So these are the details of the invoice. Um, Now they have been picked up for consolidation and invoices have been generated. So if you come back to invoice, these consolidated invoices have actually been generated as invoices, right? Now, one last bit, and we will end the demo, right? So in terms of consolidation, the consolidation will only start at the end of the month. Just for the demo purpose, we have run this with a higher frequency, but in production, it will run at the end of the month, right? So in summary, we essentially showcased the invoice creation via the web app through bulk upload, one of the easiest ways to sort of get compliant. And we also showed you folks how consolidation works, how the staging works. Again, if you folks want a deep dive on any of this, we would be more than happy to sort of do a one-on-one session. Um, but having said that, we will end the demo here. Let's go through the questions and then we will get back to the deck, right? So the first question is, can you show what the rejection from LHDN will look like in the inbox? Sure. Let me try to get an email for that, and then I'll showcase that to you because we have to get an invoice that gets rejected. In the meantime, let's go to the next question while I'm getting the email. So can bulk upload be automated? Example, Marmin accepts the bulk upload file that is sent via scheduler. This will be considered pushing from the customer side. Definitely, it can be automated. That's the third part that we showed, where you can automatically drop these files into SFTP, and our job will essentially run to pick it up, generate the invoices, send it to IRBM, and essentially get the IRBM response back and send an email to you. Sangmesh, do you want to add anything to this?
Yes. So while you're answering these questions, I wanted the audience to know this perspective that, see, the 3 options which we have showed, it all depends on what scale of automation they want to achieve. Is it high human intervention, low automation? Then go for web application. If it is semi-human intervention and still adding automation to it, go for file upload mechanism. Then if you want full automation with minimal human intervention, then go to the API-based integration. Why I'm giving this response is this will align completely with the questions asked by Reginald, and then based on which the customer or you as a customer can decide how and what level of automation is needed depending on business scenario, whether it is B2B, whether it is end user customer whom the invoice or receipt is being issued, right? So with that context, Shashank, you can continue answering the question, please.
Yeah. Again, one thing that we can definitely help you folks is, maybe assess the existing flow that you have, the business process that you have. While we are theoretically putting out what are the channels preferred based on your use case, we can definitely work with you. But in a nutshell, the answer is yes. You can essentially drop it to SFTP and we can pick it up from there. Um, I think the third question, which is can Marmin pull bulk upload from customer's site? We do something similar for some of our other customers. We have helped them set up SFTP. They just drop the files there and we pick it up from there, right? So yes, in some sense, definitely the second question we can do. The third one also, yes, we can do that.
Uh, In addition to this, Mr. Reginald, it also depends on the security practices in that organization. For example, some companies do not allow external party to pull data. It is only push data from the source. So based on those protocols, it can be decided how the customer wants to implement this.
Yeah, I'm just getting an email on the rejection one, so we'll just show that.
Yeah. While you share that email, Shashank, so team here, audience here, we have given you context on business scenarios. We have given context on kind of implementations and variations of implementations, what a customer can achieve by picking which option he has to or they have to choose on what kind of integration has to be built, right? This reflects on level of automation, level of compliance, level of security, level of cost, and level of long-term strategy in terms of implementing e-invoicing. Now, currently, the industry is only solving how the integration has to be done with IRBM. But based on our experience as solution provider, this is one part. After this will come is further set of, reconciliation activities, matching activities, tax filing activities, all of which will be linked further with this activity of creation of e-invoice, right? I think we here from Marmin have given enough context on how, as a customer or how, as an implementer, you have to visualize the implementation for your customer or for you as a customer, right? So we are happy to answer further if any questions are there.
Okay. Now, okay. Thank you. Right. So you were asking for the first one. So this is one sample email. I've just got it from my team. So this essentially says for IRBM test one. So it says your invoice with IRBM test one has been rejected by IRBM. Please correct the errors and resubmit. Clicking here will directly take you to the details page with all the errors listed. And if you need some assistance, you can always reach out to us. So this is one sample where we generated an invoice and it got rejected by IRBM. This is another one where we generated the invoice, but it went through fine, right? So in this case, it says uh, invoice with a certain invoice number dated certain date sent to a particular customer, right? So in this case, you will get the invoice number, the date, the amount, and you can also get the invoice PDF, right? So this invoice PDF is embedded within your email. So this is where I was saying, regardless of what channel you use, our goal has been to improve this efficiency. So if you drop a bulk upload file, let's say an SFTP or in bulk upload, thousands of invoices, hundreds of invoices, you don't need to come back to Marmin to check what happened to those invoices, right? So we will take care of syncing it to IRBM. If IRBM is down, we'll wait for it to come back up. We'll sync it to IRBM. And once the IRBM has approved, we will essentially generate the invoice and send it out to you, right? Hopefully this answers the question that you had. Um, Let us know if you have any other questions.
Yeah. Here, I want to point out to, yeah, I think Shashank Reginald is asking, can you show the errors also from the browser?
Yeah, I'm just doing.
While you share that, I'll just give some context on the poll we had raised. In the poll, the question was, were the topics relevant? And we find that cost in setting up is the biggest concern for all customers or audience here who feel that the cost is going to be huge in terms of this particular implementation requirement by IRBM. Secondly, uh, was this demo helpful for your business? Majority answered yes. So which actually means we have captured the pain points of the market, pain points of the customers trying to implement, and then showcase them here. We're happy to help, happy to guide you in your implementation. Do let us know. Go ahead, Shashank.
Yeah. So we're just looking at these invoices. So this is one sample, right? So from an email, when you click on here, this one, it directly takes you to the details page with the errors listed. So if there are 20 different errors, all the errors will be listed. In this particular case, it says issuance date time value of the document is too old. So IRBM has set a limit of 72 hours for a document submission, right? So if you submit beyond that, it will essentially reject, saying that your date and time is old. Let's see if we can get a different error. There's again the same one. So it says duplicate submitted document with UUID, right? Um, Again, this is a test environment. We are trying to replicate different kinds of error scenarios, but this should essentially give you a flavor of what it would look like. And this is true for all the other documents as well. So if I go to refund and go to this essentially says the reference document UUID does not exist. So we are creating a refund where we are saying that the original invoice UUID is something, but Zatka is saying, I don't have any record of this UUID, right? So that's where this has failed. Internal ID for document UUID is missing. So again, whatever is the error, we will list down all the errors. And at the end of the day, we are there to sort of help you understand these errors and fix it. But you will have a list of, you will be very clearly be able to see all the errors and the reason for rejection on the web app itself. Okay, so coming back, let's go back to the deck. I'll hand this over to Sangmesh to wrap up the webinar. But in the meantime, if you have any more questions, I'm just checking. Um, so the question is, can these errors be forwarded to the company email? We can definitely do that. That's not an issue at all. We can do it. The only reason why we are not doing it now is if the number of errors is too much, then it would be sort of hard to um, comprehend these errors. But if that is something that you want, along with every email, we can send out the errors as well. So you can clearly
And
get it on the email.
there is one operational issue also, right? With this error being received in an email. For example, you send 5 invoices for processing, and 5 of them are processed, and all of them are error, and all of them have multiple errors. What you have to do, you have to go each email, read error by error, and then try to solve it, which is operationally very inefficient. But then again, this also depends on how many errors are there. You can create an invoice with 100 errors, but is it logical to receive that as an email and then decode? No, right? So there has to be a balance which has to be struck around these things. Right.
Yeah. But technically possible, if that is something that you want, we can sort of do that for you.
Yeah, 1 or 2 error, displaying it and quickly taking action on it is relevant. I mean, that is what we are doing. But again, if you send a document which is having 100 issues and then sending that over a long email, you also by yourself will not be operationally seeing it. So that's a call and balance which we have to strike. Right. Yeah. So with this context on why e-invoicing, what Marmin has been doing, how Marmin product is built, what functionalities Marmin product has, we also want to emphasize that we are accredited by MDEC, we are certified by PEPOL, we are for security certified by SOC 2 and GDPR. With all these aspects in place, we are a complete package for business to business enterprise application, right? So you can expect highest level of security, highest level of performance, and highest level of reliable e-invoice delivery to IRBA, completely embedded into your business processes. This is where we say that you can completely automate your e-invoicing workflow through Marmin and improve your product or your business efficiency. All right. With this, we also want to highlight what kind of pricing do we offer. We offer postpaid pricing, which means usually you consume first and then pay, which is actually better value for money because you only pay for what you consume, right? Then prepaid also, because prepaid scenario is relevant where you don't know your volumes, but you still know, yeah, so you know your volumes and you want to keep the cost predictable and not leave it to, overusage or overage, right? So that option is also available. Then based on huge volume, we can get into highly flexible pricing also, which will keep your e-invoicing implementation and operational cost very low, very minimal. So with this context, we want to convince you that we are a better product in the market for your e-invoicing implementation and IRBM regulatory compliance achievement. All right. Right. Whoever is interested to look for the application, have a try out on what our application does, how integration has to be done, how the connection has to be done with IRBM, and how easy it is to understand and build a perspective on why e-invoicing project doesn't have to be complex. Please sign up for a free trial from our side. This is the QR code. You just scan it. It will take you through a registration page in which, based on your registration, we will send you across sandbox access and credential for testing these things out. You will have access to managing different type of invoices, different sources from where you can create invoices, what we have showcased. You can automate your, you can see how the automation works for data validation, integration, real-time error reporting, these aspects. And I think it's a good package for you to just give it a try. With this, here we would like to conclude our session. Any more questions? We can take them. We wait for 2, 3 more minutes till the questions are coming in. We are happy to answer.
Yeah, do sign up for the free trial. We would be happy to sort of help you go through the system. At the same time, um, whatever we have spoken about, happy to review your business process. We can help you figure out what is the best way to or best channel for you to use for e-invoicing. Um, but having said that, yeah, do sort of follow us on LinkedIn. There will be more webinars helping you understand IRBM regulations, IRBM updates, and anything and everything related to e-invoicing.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there are no questions. Yes, we do support postpaid, and we provide very flexible options. Postpaid, per invoice, uh, grouping in terms of buckets. We can discuss that, but Sangmesh, do you want to answer this question on what is the criteria for postpaid?
These these pricing aspects actually would be a separate subject. We will take this over an email, Mr. Reginald. So yeah, should be okay. It depends on, what aspect the client is looking at. Is it high volume, low cost, or high volume, uh, predictable cost, or low volume, predictable cost, or low volume, unpredictable cost? So those aspects will figure out what option has to be offered to the customer, right? Yeah. I think should be okay. Can we?
I think we can wrap this up.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending this session. We will reach out to you offline. You also have our coordinates to reach out. Do come back if you have any questions around this. Thank you.